are being pulled forward into sets of information that are plugged into your actual business model, your business operating assumptions. So my example here at the bottom is that the customer lens work that you've done, plays into your value proposition, and it also plays directly into the pitch that you make. So just wanted to have you take a look at that and see that all your hard work is sort of pulling forward into some really cool stuff. So I want to talk a little bit about customer validation, and hopefully if you aren't already convinced, try to convince you that this is really, really, really important. I guess I have 3 reasons. And one reason is that this is a time during customer validation where you really want to challenge your assumptions surrounding the customer and the solution that you've come up with, and really take seriously the idea that you need to listen to what the feedback is from real customers. As Stephen Blank says, you have to do this outside of your office. You have to go out and see them. The second part is what you're looking for is specific feedback about the stack of assumptions that you've made about your possibilities and your operating assumptions, and looking for clues. That's what my guy Sherlock on the right side is saying, is that it's elementary, but it's very important. You're looking for clues. You're a detective trying to get feedback that is useful in building your business. And the third reason I hope that you would recognize is that this is clearly a way, customer validation is clearly a way where you are increasing your odds of success when you spend time confirming what you've brought forward so far and what you're trying to build as a business. Just imagine the idea that you've created this business and you're working at this point in a vacuum and not knowing if there's going to be a customer out there. Just think of all the work that you're going to be doing moving forward with no idea if somebody's willing to pay for it. So that's my thoughts about customer validation and how important it is. So let's talk about things that you might want to consider including in your customer validation process. First of all, as Craig says in the LMS, you want to use a lot of the same approaches that you've already are used to using with your customers about being prepared, not leading them in their answers, that sort of thing. So you might want to go back and look at that. Those are still important features or values that you want to have when you go see them. My first point there about being clear is that you have, as I mentioned, a number of assumptions that you've built into your business plan so far. So you want to specifically test those out. On my list, I had that I wanted to test out my strategic design and business target. Making sure that I'm spot on about who these customers are like, and that I have identified their customer lens and built it out. Is the problem that I'm trying to solve, is that being addressed? Is there really a problem in the area that I think there is? Is the solution that I'm bringing to the table one that really addresses the problems that I just mentioned? And then maybe some specific business operating assumptions. Like, some of the businesses, it's very important that you pick out good channels of delivering your services, and you have a number of options, and you have proposed that this is the way that you're going to deliver it using the customer universe, and I want to test that out, my channels of delivery. And the same thing with how are you going to make money? the business operating assumptions incorporates where the bags of money go and who's paying. And so when I go out testing with customers, those are things that I want to look at. And then you might have some other specific assumptions that you're building your business on. So figure out a way to ask about that. It's really important that you spend this time figuring that out. So being clear about your intent is meant to say it's being clear about your intent with yourself, that you understand what it is that you're trying to get across or find out. Just a word about prototypes. Yeah, you can certainly bring them. That's cool. But I guess I want to add in a few things. One is that they're not necessary. You can bring in something that is a representation of what you want to provide. Maybe it's on paper, maybe it's a landing page, maybe it's a styrofoam mock-up. It doesn't have to be this great work of art. It just has to be something that represents the ideas that you're trying to explain, and in many cases you don't need one at all. Okay, it's prototypes. So here's some things that I would be looking to include in my customer validation. I'd want to include some sort of way to walk in your customer's shoes. So what you're actually wanting to try out is, how does this feel when I encounter as a customer this problem that I'm trying to resolve? What when I go through the steps, what's that feel like? And then somehow figure out a way to simulate the new journey. Try it out. It's a mock-up. It doesn't have to be perfect, but see if you can figure out a way to make a representation. So you've got that information to use in your as a data point in your customer validation. The next one, we talked about this, might have even been in the first week. We talked about how important observation is. If you possibly can do observation, then do it. These aren't mutually exclusive, by the way. You should be looking at doing a combination of these. Figure out a way to observe your potential customers and see how they're reacting to the problem that you're trying to solve. Okay. And then this is the direct part of your validation, where you're actually asking them real questions, and you're using an outline that helps you get at the questions that we talked about being clear. And then I would encourage you to continue your research. You can find a lot of stuff, and by sort of spider webbing out, you can get more and more information together for the topic that you're trying to get. And you can look more broadly, you can look more narrowly at creative ways of gathering research. And then finally, when you're doing your customer validation, be sure to take notes. And I'm hoping that you remember that one thing taking notes does is that it reminds you of what was said, but it also helps you to mitigate bias that you might be accidentally having, which is this is my interpretation of what I heard. So if you actually write down notes, then you're a little bit less likely to have that happen. So that's it. Customer validation.
Paul, maybe I could give an example with somebody that we worked with.
Sure.
We had a customer who was building something to assist blind people to go across the road. And so they, in their early days, they took the I'm Going Blind class and walked around with the people who were actually going blind. But then when they got a prototype done, they had a business operating assumptions. They went back to the Society for the Blind, and they got some people in actually tried it. So their prototype wasn't fully working, but they explained to them how they were going to help them, and I remember it very clear. They stood behind the people, used their prototype, and when there was a car approaching, they tapped them on the shoulder, as if the device that they were going to build later would alert them. So when a car wasn't coming, they didn't tap them on the shoulder. And that simple feedback, and that got the validation for from the customer, who was blind or emerging blind person. So they walked through it and did all the things Paul talked about, but that's an example of actually observing and getting real customer feedback.
Yeah, and I remember them coming back from these actual customer interactions almost wide-eyed because of the things that they learned, because they had gone in with some assumptions and found out that what they had assumed was actually a little bit different. So that's my outline for customer validation. What I thought I'd show you is kind of walk through an example. So I wanted to share an example that says I've gone through Startup Hustle, and what I'm developing is a new kind of hotel experience. I'm very interested in the hospitality business, but I think that model is well worn, and that we're moving past the Holiday Inn kind of experience. And so I have talked with customers, and I got really good early traction with people expressing interest, customers expressing interest in what I was trying to do. So I went ahead and got to this point, which is where you're at, and I have created this model, and I'm ready to actually work on my customer validation. So this is what I did. I first of all walked through the journey that travelers have right now. I made my reservation like they would. I came into the building like everybody else would. I looked around. I went to the front desk. I checked in. I noticed the amenities, and went to my room. And maybe you tried this out at several different properties. Then what I did is I mocked up what I felt was a new way to have a hotel experience, and I checked myself in through my simulation. Maybe I did it on my iPad or other way. I think they're actually doing it that way right now. But I simulated a check-in process. I imagined I was going into a different type of an environment. Let's say it didn't have a front desk or something. I tried all that out and just tried to figure out, okay, what's this feel like? Then what I did is I actually went to a hotel lobby, or maybe a number of lobbies, and I sat there and I observed. I was watching how people come in, how they check in, what they looked around, what they asked about for amenities. For example, did they ask if they could bring their pet dog in, that sort of thing. And I documented the observations. Yeah, and while I'm doing this, I'm still looking at data. I'm looking at data about kinds of stays that people are traveling for these days, what the trends are. Why is it that people are traveling? There's a certain number of people that are traveling for leisure travel. There's a certain number that are traveling for business. And then there's another group that's traveling out of necessity of other kinds. So what are the ratios, and are those potentially different kinds of customer lenses? I also found out how they reserve their rooms. You can reserve rooms directly. You can reserve rooms on the internet. Those sorts of things are things that I spent my research time trying to figure out. Then what I did, and I'm hoping that you see this as being a little bit creative, is I went out and looked at social media, and I sorted for ways that people were commenting on hotel stays? What did they like? What am I seeing on on Facebook or whichever media I'm looking at? What are people talking about as amenities they liked, or some pros and cons? Or I had this horrible experience when I stayed at this particular property, and sort of spending some time trying to figure out what it was that they're commenting on, and I'm inferring that those are features that they may want to see in my new property. So then I get to sort of the place where I'm going to gather quite a bit of information, and that is that I'm actually going to talk with real hotel guests. So I'm going to spend a number of days at a hotel property that'll let me do it, and I'm going to introduce myself to guests that I don't know and try to get some feedback from them. So how would you do that? How are you going to get some customer validation feedback? In this case, if you're going up to somebody you don't know, I might say, hi, my name's Paul, and I'm doing research on improving hotel experiences for guests. I'm asking people about what they prefer in vacation and business travel. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions? And almost right away, what I might go towards is giving them several examples of hotel experiences that I'm interested in providing. These are my, in our vernacular, some possibilities. And maybe I'll give them 2 or 3, especially ones that I'm torn between these two. I'll give them those 2, maybe another one that I'm not sure if they're going to be as interested. And let's say that I show them this is a page, and it shows a check-in, it shows a room type, and it shows the common space and the amenities that it has. Okay, well, now I'm going to ask them to describe their impressions of that. And what I'm listening for is their narrative about things that are important to them. That's a really cool way to do it. And you don't want to lead, this is a place where you want to be very careful. You don't lead their answers or ask them yes/no questions. You want to talk about, ask them in a way that evokes their story about what it might be like in that kind of a hotel experience. I'm also maybe looking for feedback from other places. Again, a creative place might be to look at Facebook or other sources for engendering new pieces of information. Maybe a few more things on the actual asking guests. I'm going to go down a number of questions. The questions that I talked about in the previous couple of slides ago, where I talked about being clear. This is what I want to accomplish when I talk to guests. So these are the types of questions I'm asking. What's your preference for the best way to making a reservation? Which of these amenities are the most important to you? Those sorts of questions, and I think you kind of get the point there. So I've documented all this, and I've reviewed my notes, and I'm being very careful about bias, and I'm ready to move on to the next stage of creating my hotel. Let's go back to this outline that I gave you and see how I did. I was very clear about my intent, and I listed out my questions that I wanted to ask based on what I'm trying to get at. I didn't have an actual prototype, but what I had was some pictures, landing pages, 8.5 by 11 pictures of potential layouts. So that's my prototype. I did the simulated journey, both for new and old. I sat in the lobby and I observed. I actually had a real face-to-face interviews, hopefully with a lot of different guests to get a rich set of data. And I worked on my continued research that I told you about, and I took notes. So I think I passed that part, and I'm hoping that that example gives you some ideas and some inspiration about how to validate. One last thing that I want to mention is B2B businesses are sometimes a little bit different kind of an animal when it comes to your customer validation, and you may have already seen it in your customer lenses, because the purchasing decision could have layers to it. My example, if you want to go back to the hotel example, is that this business travel may not be, this business traveler may not be the decision maker about staying at my property. If you have any size of scale in your business, if they're fairly large, sometimes they have in-house travel arrangers. So that's a person who's going to influence whether this business person stays at my place, or they might have a finance person who has to approve their travel budget. So keep this in mind when you're looking at business to business customers, that there may be layers to your purchasing decision that you're going to want to drill into. Okay, that's my example, and now we're going to move on to something that I call the belly flop. So you've worked your way through your validation, and holy cow, you find out that this is a miss. People are not interested in the way that you want to solve their problem, or as it turns out, they don't have the problem they thought, or my business operating assumptions fell short in some way. This is a place where you can't deny you're going to feel crummy about it, but don't lose faith here. This is you've gained a bunch of information, and so this is the perfect place to iterate and go back and work on the parts that seem to not fit, and look for a different way to approach it, or maybe a different customer type, or whatever it is that you need to adapt. And also, don't be afraid to do incremental changes as well. Even small shifts can make a difference. And the third thing I want to mention on this is that you can still, don't be afraid to put a breakthrough need on your pitch. And hopefully you remember that what we talked about is that a breakthrough is something that you recognize it as a problem, but you don't have a solution yet. So that actually, in my mind, is not a belly flop. It's just something that you're going to have to put out there, and the audience for your pitch, I think, is going to be much more inclined to buy into your pitch if you don't try to obfuscate or fake your way through what actually is a needed breakthrough. The other thing, and I don't want to put too fine a point on this, but this will happen too, and I'm guessing it may have already happened to you, and that is that you'll ask people, they'll ask you about what you're doing, and you'll say, "This is what I'm doing. What do you think?" And they'll say, "Oh gosh, this is just the best thing. I really, really like your idea." And that's all cool, but the question you need to ask is what this little guy on the right is asking, which is, okay, I'm glad they really, really like it, but will they buy it? And so you need to find ways to identify if people will actually pay real resources for your idea. And I think Craig has a really good slide in the LMS that talks about that. You can ask for people's time, you can ask for their money, you can ask for them to refer it on to somebody else, will you forward this to Facebook or something? Those are all good ways to actually identify if somebody will actually pay for it. Okay, that's my rundown on customer validation. I hope you picked up a few pointers there. And now we'll move on and talk about a really fun part, which is your pitch. And Craig's going to talk about that.
Okay, so we have Thursday night coming up. I bet a few of you are nervous about Thursday night. So I want to, set the stage for what to expect and what your pitch might contain so that you can practice and get ready. Go ahead, Paul. So your first pitch, as we talked about on Thursday night, your first pitch isn't your final pitch, right? You're not going to have to go through your financial numbers and all that stuff. This is a pitch that clarifies the business that you want to build. It's just another way to get feedback and to begin the process of languaging what your business is. As you heard Sonny and Anna and Dan talk about the other night, you pitch all the time. And we're trying to get you the tools and a level of comfort in pitching. So we're going to have a pretty, safe environment for this pitch that's going to come up. So it's great practice for your future pitches. And you're not going to need to go into a deep dive, and you're not going to have somebody, grill you in this first pitch. It's really so that you can begin to language your business and your customer solution and value. Go ahead. So, be clear on your message, work on your message, refine it, practice, watch your time. You're going to want to be able to do this as fast as possible, like 5 minutes, like a 5-minute pitch about your customer solution value and maybe another minute or two on your business operating assumptions. Follow an outline. We're going to provide you one right here. We did in the LMS. We provided you the core of it in the LMS. And we'll show you an outline that we think will actually work for Thursday night. And as we talked about, Sonny talked about the other night, don't make Dan did too, don't make your slides dense with a lot of text. It's better if the stuff comes right from your heart, not from your, from pointing at this slide deck back here. Show how fired up you are, show your enthusiasm. Don't get, too much marketing speak. It's more if it comes from your heart, you have a real sense of your customer and their pain. And at the end, let's go ahead and make an ask. Go ahead, Paul. So this is what we provided in the LMS that begins to show you the core of your pitch. And you'll find that the outline we're going to give you builds on this and syncs almost exactly with what we talked about last Thursday night. So it's your value proposition that we showed you how to construct in the LMS. So using your customer lens, you're able to construct and build a value proposition, and for the customer who has this emotional need. Our solution, our product name is this. And unlike our competitors, it's that. We'll get to the unlike our competitors and other things. So that your value proposition plus a more detailed view of your customer, your solution, and your value, followed by a few details about our business operating assumptions. So how are the customers impacted, the possible buyers, the possible models, the charging models you're going to use and the possible ranges, who might be my strategic design target, who might be my strategic business target. So this is the core of a pitch: value proposition, CSV, business operating assumptions. Okay? So what might you do when you get there on Thursday? Just acknowledge the audience. So you're going to want to start and just say, thanks for letting me have the time, however you do it. I wanted all this to be in your own voice, your own language. Tell a hook, an emotive customer story. Often this is a journey that really evokes some emotion. And that's what I like so much about Thursday night when we talked about the 9 rules. You heard his language about his pitch. It was, it really was about a customer journey. So he said, it's all about the product, but he told it in a customer journey. And the customer journey evoked emotion. So that hook right up front, you need to have have a very short thing that says what it's about. And then you can restate your value proposition. Then you can go deeper into the needs that, your customer needs and their emotional needs and the feedback that you got, and maybe even have a little voice of your customer, describe your solution, and then define the benefits, which are the value in it. Following that, you might say a few words about, I'm going to make money by selling this to, this particular strategic design target, or, might name them. We think of the pricing range, the charging range will be, charging might be subscription model, and we're going to do it at the $11 price point. But however you language that. And at the end, I'd like you to make an ask. And, the ask might be for feedback. It might be for whatever you want. The right to pitch in the final pitch. So this structure will become the core for several of your pitches. And I think it hits exactly what we talked about last Thursday night. So you may want to, I know we can send it out, but we may want to follow this template. But the thing is, don't make it a template. Write these things down, practice your pitch, and then put it in your own voice. If you turn it around, it's good. It's just needs to be in your voice and not in Craig's voice. Okay. So go ahead, Paul. We're going to evaluate you. So we're going to have some people come, and it's a good chance to sit in front of people and give your pitch. Again, it will be a safe environment. There's no fail in this. It's a chance to get up and, give your discussion on your business. We're going to look at your pitch delivery. Are you clear? Was it conversational? What your emotional connection was to the customer solution value? Did you have a emotive customer story? Did you hook them? And is there a value proposition? Do they see value in this business so that it can become a strong business? Go ahead, Paul. Okay, so this is the actual pitch evaluation. So these guys will be given, these men and women, Anna will be there, and Sonny and Dan and a few of the other people you've met, many of these are people that you've met. But they'll be given a piece of paper, and they'll have, did you show that you understand the customer? Did your solution seem to fit the customer need? And then are the benefits of the solution significant enough so you can have a differentiated business? And then we'll ask them to evaluate on you. Do you have a solid plan for your business operating assumptions? And was there an ask? So if you put those things into your 5 minutes, you'll be successful. And the most important thing is remember how friendly we are in Startup Hustle, and how friendly all the mentors are. We're all here to help you. So this is your safe place to get up and do it, and get in front of a bunch of people and take the stand, make it happen. Go ahead, Paul.
So this is where I was wondering if Eric, if you could talk just a little bit about the process for Thursday and sort of logistically what's going to happen and what your expectations are.
Yeah, I'll jump into this, and then I see there's some questions that we'll get to. So you guys can just keep adding questions in there, and we'll get to that. Okay, I guess I wanted to piggyback a little bit on Craig as part of what I'm talking about is this is a constructive exercise, and the evaluation is the evaluation criteria is meant for your benefit. And so each of the judges will have these scorecards that they'll be then handing back to you that you can, take home as, constructive feedback. So that's that. If you haven't yet, please fill out the survey with your preferred location. What we're going to do is I'll send out a schedule tomorrow, but basically if you suggested a preferred location, that's the location that we're going to assign you. And if you selected no preference, then we're going to assign you to Rockland, because most people suggested Midtown. So there will be a slightly more people at Midtown than Rockland. And then from there, the Rockland or the Midtown folks will break up the groups into sub teams. So each team will get about 10 to 12 minutes to with the mentor. We're cutting the pitches, and we want to practice this now at 5 minutes, and then that'll leave about 5 minutes for the feedback portion, which is like the Q&A and feedback portion. So it'll be about 10 to 12 minutes per team. And so that's why we're breaking them up into groups of about 6. So you'll get to hear the people within your sub cohort give their pitch, and it'll be kind of like a fun community environment. So you'll get to practice pitching in front of some of the mentors and some of the team, but it won't be in front of the entire group because that'll take too long.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that's clear. I'm going to summarize this as best I can in a scheduled email that goes out tomorrow. So that's that. So if you haven't yet, please fill out that questionnaire so I can help coordinate logistics. And then at the end of the week, I'm going to be doing another survey, which is our mentor matchmaking survey. And this will go out on Friday, and it'll be a questionnaire that will help us play matchmaker amongst the mentor community. So that's coming. Look out for that. It'll have questions as far as like, who are your preferred mentors and what other areas of the business are you uncomfortable with that we might be able to help you. And I want to also keep in mind that there are a lot of mentors on our website that are included in this, but it doesn't necessarily mean we're constrained to pulling from those mentors. There's a ton of great mentors in the community. So yeah, the mentor matchmaking will happen starting next week, and I'm going to start the questionnaire on Friday. And then I had some questioning earlier on in the program, which I want to address now, is that this presentation is not a review criteria for whether or not you'll be presenting on demo night. This is meant to be a constructive exercise. And so in May, I believe it will be May 10th, will be our final application to pitch at demo night. And we'll have that in, we'll send you more information about that later. The main point I wanted to make now is that this pitch is not an application for pitching at demo night, and it's not a screening event for pitching at demo night. It's meant purely for constructive purposes. And those are my notes. So we got some questions. Aaron says, where is the outline? Craig left. Oh, Craig's there. Never mind.
No, I'm here.
Okay. Craig, do you want to answer that?
What do you mean, where is the outline? I don't know, because I just gave the outline. So I guess my answer would be we'll send the PowerPoint. We'll put the PowerPoint on the LMS tonight. You can download it in this week's files, or we'll send it out.
Yeah, I'll have the video on there as well, and I'll put both of them up there, and you could take a look at that. I think echoing this point, this is something that I felt I kind of pigeonholed the last round that we did, is we gave a specific outline, and then the teams kind of refer to that as the Bible. And I like this approach more because, these are the core components of a great pitch, and you can add your flavor to it and find what works best for you and your personality.
So. By the way, guys, it does need to be in your voice, right? So you could watch Sonny, or you could watch Craig, or Paul pitch, and you would pick up some tips. But the most important thing is that comes from your heart. You could see Anna the other night. You could just see how it overflowed, her passion and her caring for her customer and her caring for the stuff she was doing. So, you know, if you take the building blocks, what your value proposition is, put it in your voice. Your empathy for your customer, put it in your voice. You know, smile and be fired up and talk about your solution and put it in your voice. Tell a few of the benefits. Then, you know, describe your business. It'll work and it'll be yours. It won't be ours. And, you know, my presentation style was different, so it fits me. So that's my tip is just make it yours. Use these building blocks. There's no wrong answer, right? You'll get some feedback from our team, you'll correct, and then you get feedback from the next pitch, and you'll correct. And pretty soon you'll be knocking it out of the park like Anna did and Sunny did.
Yeah, that's good. Cool. Okay. The email regarding Thursday nights at both locations. Hopefully I clarified that. Answer the survey, and that will be your location. Are people going to be asking questions? Yes, there will be questions and feedback. Example of an ask.
Yeah, I'll take those. Actually, that one. Even on the questions, they'll ask questions about your customer and your solution, but they're not going to be doing the cut you off at your knees kind of thing that a angel will be doing. And we want them to ask you questions that means they're fired up about your solution. And examples of an ask. So I want you to get comfortable with having an ask at the end of everything. So even if the ask is, a lot of times it's, can I have another meeting? Is there a way that you can help me go through this process? Another ask could be, I'd like you to introduce me to anybody in the industry that you might know. I would basically say I have a request. My request is that, I want your candid feedback so that I can be a better presenter. Another ask might be, I'd like the opportunity to present in front of you guys later. I'd like the opportunity to I asked for $100,000 for 2.5% of your business. That's came across in the chat. Anyway, there's an ask. Anyway, language your ask and get yourself comfortable with firing them up, getting them hooked, firing them up, talking about the need, customer solution value, which is the need, and then turning around and making an ask. Okay. Eric, can they use slides?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, you can use slides, put them on a jump drive, or bring your computer. We'll have VGA in all situations, and in most situations we'll have VGA and HDMI.
So, are there any other questions about about Thursday? If not, I see Anders has a question about validation, or Andres has a question about validation. Anders, your initial interviews, you didn't talk about your product because you were trying to learn. Should you create new interviews with new people specifically about the product, prototypes, problem solution ideas that you have? Yes, so what Paul was proposing is get out and validate. Validate your potential charging models and your potential price points and in your case, whether your symbology speaks to the emotion that you're trying to get across through the symbols. Get out and validate. The more validation, the better. And again, as we talked about in the LMS, and Paul underscored, validation is about your product, your customer solution value, the product, and then the business operating assumptions. And one of the reasons why business operating assumptions are pretty loose right now is because we don't know. We haven't gotten real feedback about whether I should make this a high-end charging, maybe it's a one-time charge and it's for a unit sale, and then it's a really high-end, or maybe I need to try to drive volume. So that's get out there and do some validation.
Just to piggyback on that one, there's a lot of things that, as far as your, more your business operating assumptions, it could be your pricing model, could be your sales channels, and all of these things can be tested and validated. And you can even use like aliases, so you don't have to give up your brand or anything. It could just be some totally like spoof test type of thing, just to see if someone will pay $15 for an earring. There's a lot of ways to get creative with that. So, list out what are those assumptions that you have, whether it's pricing, customer types, sales channels, distribution partners, all of those things. Anyway.
I got one thing to add there too, Anders, is that you can feel free to talk with the same people that you talk with right off the bat. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that it sure would be important to expand that and set a high, set a high number for yourself. Try to get, if you're thinking 10, try to get 20. If you're thinking 20, you want as much data coming back to you as possible. And part of that can be people you've already talked with. It's not a problem.
Yeah. And the best way to know, because they're all assumptions until basically money is exchanged hands.
Yeah.
So that's a good way to test, is put a price out there into the world and see if anyone buys it. And
So the other question, do I need to send out my pitch template before pitch night? No, bring it on a jump drive and it's yours. And just go do it. Have some fun with this. This is designed to be fun.
yes.
Anything else?
I'm assuming that 100K for 2.5 is a joke.
Yeah.
But if not, no comment.
Good valuation.
Yeah, it's a good valuation
For this phase.
Cool. If you ask for that, you better have one hell of a pitch.
100K for a product is software or technical related. I'm not sure what that question means. Of product is software.
Oh, probably not in this particular pitch. Probably not.
So restate the question, Eric.
The question is, should we be prepared with technical details of the product? In this particular context, probably not. There's a potential that one of the judges who's technically inclined and might ask you something, but that's not really part of the point of this pitch.
So when you get a little bit farther along, maybe even post startup hustle, at the end of in week 7, we'll give you an array of pitch types, 3 or 4 or 5 pitch types that you go, and we'll point you to, the best templates and the stuff that Paul and I and Eric and Dan have seen be asked for over and over. At the end, there's a 5 pitch deck and a 10 pitch deck and a 30 slide deck with, that you need to do. All those things will happen later. Right now, I wouldn't worry about it. And then another thing, just since we're talking about the futures here, in week 8, before we do the final pitch, we have a whole section on how to prepare yourself, who you should talk, how you should talk, what do you need to think about, how you should dress, all that stuff. We address those things. Tomorrow night, or Thursday night, I'm sorry, let's just come have some fun. And another.
It's a brilliant question.
That is an excellent question. How are startups like golf? I think they're like golf because you keep hacking at it till you get to the 19th hole where you can celebrate. Maybe you fail over and over, and then you move on and you persevere. So you have good days and bad days, and
for some reason
you can't stop thinking about that one good shot. So that's my answer.
For some reason, you keep coming back. Yeah, the less strokes it takes to get to the end, the better.
Yeah, thanks for seeing that, Anders.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, this will be fun. Looking forward to Thursday, and have a good evening.
Thanks, Eric.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye.